Hello, welcome to CIO Leadership Live New Zealand. I'm Kathy O'Sullivan, Editorial Director for ANZ for Foundry. On today's episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Lena Jenkins, who is Chief Digital Officer at Waste Management New Zealand. Kia ora, Lena. Welcome to the podcast.
Kia ora.
Welcome. So, look, love to hear about your career to date. Can you tell us a bit more about how you got your start in technology and what have been some of your career milestones?
Sure. My first role was actually not in technology, but in a call centre. So I started way back in Bell South, which became Vodafone. Then moved into some sort of business deployment or business change roles, which led to me managing projects. And at some stage, because I was managing projects, my role was moved into IT. So that was how I got into IT. And after a while, I started managing IT projects and programs. And they always had a strong people change component. So I didn't kind of get stuck into the depths of infrastructure type projects, for example. So I spent a long time in Vodafone, then moved literally across the road to Telecom, which then became Spark. And at Spark, I was part of the 3-year multi-million-dollar re-engineering program, which not only reduced Spark's systems, but also significantly changed the processes and roles and ways of working. And I led the online or the digital program, so implementing a whole new website and app and e-commerce and self-service and all that kind of stuff. From there, I managed Spark's digital roadmap. So back then, digital meant websites and apps and things like that, rather than now we use it as another name for IT. I also was involved in Spark's CX transformation program. After a while, I established the first team of product owners. Before there were lots of them. Randomly, I ended up leading the software delivery team for Spark's multi-brands like Skinny and Morphook and things like that. And set up the digitization portfolio, which was focused around digital experience and adoption. We had 8 squads, and it was a bit like an early version of an agile tribe. So from there, I wanted to change. So I'd been in telco for 20 years and felt like change. I mostly managed that. So I joined Curious, which is, quite a different organization, but it's a subsidiary of Spark, so I didn't fully leave telco behind. And at Curious, I was the head of data-powered marketing. So we had our own marketing automation platform, and we were also an Adobe partner, which I set up. So that was really good learning. So I was part of the exec team and got exposure right across the whole company, working with, marketing, sales, finance, everyone. After that, moved into Devante, which is now called Merkle, and established the data transformation capability. And then after a few years in consulting, I started last year at Waste Management, we're now WM, as Chief Digital Officer. So the through line there has really been this focus on customer, lots of business change. And I really like working in the intersection of tech and business. I'm not sort of deeply technical. I'm more of a generalist. Leadership is my core skill set.
And quite a variety of things you've been involved with there and a lot of different industries. And look, you're now, as you said, you're the Chief Digital Officer at Waste Management New Zealand. So tell us a bit more about the organisation and what you and your team look after.
So WM is Aotearoa's leading materials recovery, recycling and waste management provider. Many people probably think about us as the trucks that turn up to your house and collect the waste and the recycling, and also the people who manage landfills. But there's a lot more to what we do. So there's a lot of recycling and recovery activities of various kinds of materials. We have a whole technical services division that look after medical waste, hazardous waste, and those sorts of things. And we have some areas like, for example, we do gas capture off our landfills. So as the waste breaks down, there's gas, we capture that, convert it to electricity. That's then fed back into the grid. So my team is responsible for all non-engineering technologies, so IT or digital, and we support around 1,800 people across 70 plus sites and more than 900 trucks.
So quite a lot there, and quite a lot of stakeholders, I'm sure, involved in the organization. So what's been the digitalization journey then for you and the team? What kind of things have you been working on?
So we're currently working through our digital strategy this year, and that strategy very much enables our company strategy, which is called Porahita, which means to be circular. So at the moment, we've got an agreed digital strategy vision. We're now working through the use cases, which will be organised into a roadmap. That roadmap will then inform a business case, and then we'll need to go through all the steps necessary to get that approved all the way up to the board. So that really is the big focus for this year. And that digital strategy will include work around foundational work in our core platforms. We also need to implement a data platform. But in addition to the foundational work, there's some innovation opportunities. So, for example, looking at AI-based routing. So with 900 trucks, I'm really excited to look at that. Predictive maintenance is another thing I want to look at. But more than just the tech, it's a shift in our processes and in our mindset and a cultural shift as well.
So how do you ensure then that, those IT initiatives, you're starting out with your strategy, how are you ensuring that it aligns with those overall strategic goals that WM has, especially around that, that waste minimization and reuse?
Absolutely. So digital is very much part of our strategic pillars that make up our Porahita strategy. And we have quarterly reviews and planning to make sure that we maintain that alignment. But for me, I think the biggest things are transparency and feedback. So sharing what we're doing, understanding what others are doing, gathering feedback to maintain alignment.
And, you touched on this earlier that you're, looking at some innovative ways that you can, as part of your strategy. So how do you approach innovation within your team when you're looking at implementing those new technologies? You mentioned AI there, IoT, automation, those other opportunities. What do you look at?
Yeah, it is, I'll be honest, it is very much early days for us. I think over the next couple of years, we'll have a lot of focus on foundations. But I do want to make sure that we carve off some capacity for experimentation and innovation. And the approach that I think we'll take is starting small. So test and learn and scale from there. One of the learnings that I took from Spark was, centralize to build capability with a smaller team and then decentralize that to scale.
And how do you balance that then when I'm sure you have some legacy tech, some existing infrastructure that you have to look after too? So how do you trade that off when you're looking at that new stuff and carving off people to look at the emerging technology that may be of benefit to your organization?
Yes, that is a challenge. And at the moment, most of our focus is on maintaining existing because we do have some legacy tech that requires lots of attention. That will change with our digital strategy, and that will change as we start to work through that foundational work. We do have pockets of innovation though, so even within the projects that we're delivering. So, for example, we are taking over waste collection in Marlborough from the 1st of July. And in preparation for that, the team had to roll out 36,000 bins to households. So we created a new solution that was sort of a lot more efficient and effective for bin labels. Sounds like a small thing, but having those with the right features was a good innovation. I also want to focus a lot more on data and AI.
That's a massive project there. 33,000 bins is no small feat. And look, I know that cybersecurity is a top priority for almost every CDO, CIO, CTO. So what's your approach when it comes to cybersecurity? How do you ensure that, the security and privacy of your data in your systems is rock solid?
Yes, like every organisation, cybersecurity is very important. We're in reasonably good shape. although we can always do better. So we partner a lot in the cybersecurity space. We have partners for monitoring, for incident management, and we use a virtual CISO. We measure ourselves, our maturity against the CIS framework, and then we have an ongoing cybersecurity roadmap for continuous improvement. We use Qualys as our enterprise cybersecurity and risk platform and have monthly scanning and then obviously remediation from there. And there's lots of internal communication and education that we do. So we have yearly cybersecurity awareness training for all our people, monthly phishing campaigns. We've got tabletop exercise with our exec team, and we also do red team exercises. So the next step, I think, is focusing more on embedding security and privacy by design.
So you mentioned there that you use partners to help you with that, with your cybersecurity. What do you look for more broadly when it comes to technology partners? What makes a good partnership from your point of view?
Yeah, we're a small team, so we do partner a lot. And, one of the most important things for me is relationship. So a partner that will take the time to understand our business. We're heavily operational rather than other corporates that might have a lot of knowledge workers. So, need to think slightly differently. Another thing that's important for me is do what you say you will. So if we've agreed something's going to happen, it needs to happen. And then innovation. So I'm always interested in hearing about ideas that might help us to deliver more value, but not so much the hard sell. So a bit of a balance there.
Yeah, those relationships are critical, aren't they? Now, you mentioned you're a small team. So how do you get the best out of your people then? What are you looking at? What are you creating to make that environment that makes people feel like they're thriving and achieving their personal and professional goals?
So the focus for me is making sure that our people are set up for success. So making sure that everyone has clear expectations on what they need to do, sharing strategic context around why we're doing what we're doing, making sure that we share knowledge and decisions. Transparency is really, really important for me. Also providing support and challenging where necessary, but don't micromanage. That's not something that I like to do. Also making sure that our people have opportunities for learning and to do interesting work. And one of the things that I've focused on over the last year is creating a culture of partnering. So when I started at WM and started in this role, there was still some remnants of IT as an order taker, both across our business and a little bit within my team as well. So I've spent a bit of time making some changes, like instead of talking about the business, we're talking about our business because we're part of the business too. And I refer to internal stakeholders rather than internal customers, just to change that dynamic and that relationship to one of partnering rather than order taking.
Great to hear. Yeah, such a good approach. And look, you yourself have come from a non-technical background into leading the digital function at WM. So what do you think then around ways that we can attract people from a variety of backgrounds to consider IT as a career? Are there any practical things that you think can be done to get those minds of all kinds into digital?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most important things is that we communicate and bring the possible opportunities to light, because I think there's an assumption that to work in digital or IT that you need to be super technical or you need to, know how to code. I've never written a line of code in my life. There are different career pathways. And so I think it's important to share our stories. So after I started at WM, we had a profile on our internal portal about me and my background and sort of thing. And I had someone from our finance team come up to me and she was absolutely amazed that someone non-technical could have a role like mine. So I think it's important to share those stories. Thinking about one of the dimensions of diversity, I've recently taken on chairing our Mana Wahine committee, which is focused around women, and which is really, really important in an industry like ours, which tends to be heavily male dominated. So we're focused on what we need to do to retain women and also attract more. And I mean, the same applies for IT or tech, right? So I think communication connection is part of the answer, and sharing stories and working with other women. We also need to look at what holds women back from applying. So what holds women back from applying for IT and tech roles? And how do we need to change to attract more women? So for example, we're looking at our flexible working policies because that's something that is important to a lot of women. Now, obviously, that's role dependent. If you're going to join us as a truck driver, unfortunately, you can't work from home. So, yeah, role dependent.
Yeah, that would be a tricky working from home while trying to deliver or pick up bins for sure. Would love to know then, Lena, what kind of advice would you give someone who was aspiring to be a chief digital officer or a senior leader in IT?
I think it's really important to get broad experience. So yes, the technical aspect is important, but also commercial and product and change and CX. Because I think now it's very much a dual role. So yes, there is a need to make sure we keep the lights on and keep things working. But you also need to be a change leader. You need to look across the organisation and partner with different parts of the organisation. And as has been talked about many times before, careers are no longer ladders, they're squiggles. So you don't have to follow some supposedly predetermined path.
Yeah, those squiggly career paths are often the most interesting as well. So finally then, what's important to you in the months ahead? Are there any other exciting initiatives in the pipeline?
Well, for me, the big focus is around our digital strategy. And, I'm really, really excited about the possibilities of what we could do, both with maturing our foundations, because I see some things and think, oh, that could be so much better or easier, but also in innovation, because I think there's so much opportunity to innovate in what we do.
Well, we wish you all the best with the initiatives ahead. Lena Jenkins, Chief Digital Officer at Waste Management New Zealand, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.